It would be easy to say that Spider-Man is one of Marvel's most iconic characters. He also has all sorts of different costumes and designs that have been very popular, like the black Symbiote Spider Suit, which came out of Secret Wars. But even with that popularity, it is surprising to note that LEGO has only made this figure once, being a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure. A symbiote version of the suit appeared in Spider-Man 3. Speaking of that Tobey Maguire version, I have a great video today. LEGO actually did make the normal versions of the suit from the first movie and the second movie. This lighter blue version is what they made of the first movie. For the second one, they switched out the normal blues for dark blue. I like how the lighter color pops on this and makes it a bit more comic booky. But unfortunately, they never got around to making sets of the third movie, as well as Venom didn't make it into actual production. But I have a couple of figures to show off today that are going to be good alternatives for that, so let's check those out. Both figures today are going to be by different companies, but are both based off of the black Symbiote Spider-Man suit from Spider-Man 3, one of which is by Classic Minifigs based out of Australia. This one came out in the last couple of months. And the other one is from Phoenix Customs, which is a year or more older, and it's going to be harder to get this one. We're going to take a close look at both of these figures, their references, and kind of figure out which one you should get in this current market. Both figures already have amazing printing from what I can see, and I'm excited to take a closer look for you guys and compare them. We'll start from the oldest figure first, being that Phoenix Customs one. They named this one the Symbiote Arachnid. Bottom left corner has the Phoenix Customs logo, and they have that Spider-Man 3 spider logo on the front there. On the other side, you can see that figure in its bag. I'll just pop this open quick and throw it on the stand. Before we look at that figure though, it's always nice to get these cards. This one's on a metallic sheet of some sort and has a little bit of shine to it. The other side just has the Phoenix Customs social media. And it's always fun to get a little personal card like this for each figure. I don't really end up doing anything with these yet, but good to see. And also just getting the plastic container that it came in is also nice and helps protect the figure. Getting this first figure on the stand, and you can just see right off the bat, this printing is really great with that silver going all the way around it. Arms are printed with a pretty decent lattice web design. Same with the mask and the torso. I will say, the spider logo is a little hard to see. It kind of blends in with all the silver around it, which is too bad. On the back, it does have printing on the torso and the back of the head, but nothing on the back of the legs, which is a bit goofy with that boot print just ending. Same with the sort of texturing that is on the rest of the minifigure. Kind of see it a bit better right here on the belt. Same with on the legs. Just has like little stippling going through it to give it some texture. I know Phoenix Customs in the past kind of skipped out on that and didn't want it to get wrecked if you're using the figure in different ways. But for going above and beyond the other areas of this figure, it sticks out a bit. That is something I'll say that I think a good figure really should stay consistent with what it's going for. Another thing that's missing is that side torso printing, but I could really go with or without that. I think having the ability to move arms without potentially damaging the figure is a very good feature for a company like this that tries to imitate that LEGO style. Fine, it's passable, totally get it. So I've showed off the whole figure, lots of great small details like the spider logos on both sides. Like I said, one negative is that spider logo kind of blends in a bit, hard to see, just because those web lines are a little bit thicker that it's all just so close together. But so far, a pretty solid option. But there's even more to this figure, and that is the inclusion of an alternate head for Peter Parker. This side has the Bully McGuire sort of face with the swoop down hair, so that fits pretty well. Be nice to have a more civilian style figure to put this on, but this is still very cool. On top of that, the head is a little loose, so I'll take the hair off screen. There's also a print on the other side of the head that has a more neutral and calmer look for Peter. So it's cool to have the option of what point of the movie you want him to be at. Also comes with a second hairpiece, being that more combed over look that is pretty typical for the Spider-Man movie Peter Parker's. So it's cool to have the two different hair options, two different face options, and just having this alternate head in general is just really cool and adds a lot to the value of this figure, which retailed for around $50 to $60 from what I've seen. I bought this one on the aftermarket, so I paid a little bit more than that. But you know what? For what's here, there's lots of great prints, even if it doesn't continue on all the sides. And it's a very cool option for this movie character. Let's move on to Classic Minifigs version, which again comes in a nice plastic container. Does have a card on the inside as well. A bag just for the figure. Nothing on the one side, and the main print has the logo for the company, their website, and unfortunately isn't specific to the figure at all, which isn't 100% a negative, but I do like having the personalized touches. And this figure is a really fun throwback to those original Spider-Man sets, like I kind of showed off earlier, featuring the same sort of printing with the silver ink. On the back, though, it features even additional printing with some web lines on the back hip. There's some really nice line work with that Spider-Man 3 spider logo. And it's kind of cool. There's a different sort of silver sheen on the lenses. Maybe it's just because there's that darker border on the outside of them to make them stand out a bit. But there's some nice contrast, which is very good for a black figure like this. One thing I'll say that is a bit off about this is the shadowing for the muscle. It tries to imitate what was done on the original Spider-Man figures, but instead of doing stippling to create a lighter shadow, does a solid print on this with just the single color, and it's all one sort of shape. And you know what, for the most part, the gray lines that they did add work pretty well anyway, but it's just something to point out. And on that back there, like I was comparing, no printing on the actual Lego version, which was probably acceptable for the time. This figure is $20 or less. I got it for $18. I think it might be on their website now for $22. And if you're looking for a symbiote suit from these movies, this is a really great option. But again, if you have the money, the Phoenix Customs one is a pretty good option too. But let's get some side-by-sides and some comparisons between these two figures. And with both these figures next to each other, it is fun to see two characters with the same original design made by two different companies like this, just because you can see the different details that certain people focus on versus others. And I'm not going to be the person to say that the more expensive version is the best version. I think both of these have some really great positives. Like for the Classic Minifigs version, it matches with that original Spider-Man figure and in that line, so that is really great to see. Consistency is really nice, and for my collection especially, it's nice to have a figure that fits in with something else. On the other hand, for this version by Phoenix Customs, I don't have anything that necessarily goes with it and the level of detail on it, especially since I've been waiting for a year and a half to get my normal Spider-Man suit by him. Maybe when I get that as well, it'll be fun to have the two different versions of the suit side by side. It's very fun to see that there are some very similar details just because, you know, they're based off the same thing, but with different levels of detail. You'd be kind of surprised. The spider logo on both of them is actually pretty similar. Same for the one on the back. You know, this one doesn't have those extra muscle lines or anything. Even looking at that, it is pretty accurate to the original figure, like I already showed. But let me know, do you like the more classic look? I'm not always a fan of these designs, but when it matches a theme just like this one does, I think it's pretty acceptable. And, you know, affordable price, decent detailing, but no extra parts or anything, so that's something to keep in mind. Or the ultra detailed Phoenix Customs version that kind of goes in above and beyond, but misses out on different areas of the suit. I wish I had more to go with this one. The closest that I have is the Andrew Garfield from the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. But even this one is a bit inconsistent because it has that back leg printing. So it's going to be kind of the ugly duck for me in my collection since they've upgraded their figures since they made this one. Of course, you get that extra detail and the two different faces that go with it. So there's a little bit more opportunity to play around with this one and do more with it. They're just different enough that I'm glad to have both of them. You know, I can have my more detailed versions and also my original childhood Spider-Man sort of themed ones. I like options like this, especially with this one being such a cheap option. It doesn't hurt the wallet too bad to have all of them. Which one do you like? I'd be interested to hear in the comments. If you want to see more Marvel or custom LEGO videos, check out all the other ones on my channel. I've been Brick Ratty Up, and I'll see you in the next video.